Hello, my name is Eliza Redway. My teammates Madison, Catherine, and myself have been working with the company Global Brigades during this term at American University in order to increase employee communication with volunteers. In our previous presentation, we discussed Global Brigade volunteer numbers, how those numbers are decreasing, and potential reasons for that decrease. We decided in the previous presentation that the main reason for potential decrease of volunteer numbers was inconsistent communication with the employees. In this presentation, we have decided to increase the communication between employees and volunteers, and we are going to discuss our strategy for making that change. Below, you can see a stakeholder map that consists of various groups within Global Brigades that range from the program associates that have frontline communication with volunteers to the international leadership team members like the CEO and the CSO, as well as the volunteers themselves. We used a simple Likert scale to consider things like the impact that this change may have on the groups, as well as their alignment to this change or their opinion of the change, and their capacity for the change. After this, we added up these Likert scales to consider the risk factor that these various groups may have for resisting or embracing the change. On the next slide, we will discuss just that. On this slide, I will discuss organizational readiness for the change of increased communication between employees and volunteers. Based on the stakeholder map and risk factors on the slide above, we assessed that the program associates and chapter advisors will be most resistant to the change itself. This is because their daily routines and performance management goals will be the most impacted by the change. In order to minimize their resistance, we plan to sit down and discuss the needs of these groups before deciding upon a software for communication. Once a software is decided upon, we will be providing these groups with advanced notice and demonstration training in order for them to succeed with the new software. We considered the international leadership team, volunteers, and program associate managers to be the most enthusiastic team members, as they will see the positive impact of the communication in regards to volunteer numbers first. In order to harness their enthusiasm to the plan and to potentially use it to assist with resistant groups, we hope to receive positive volunteer feedback to show the associates and the advisors. We also hope that the international leadership and management members will be patient and understanding with the groups that are working hard to implement the change. External potential readiness issues that may arise may be technological, with software requiring more updates than originally planned, and may be timing related. With changing volunteer numbers month to month, it may require more or less effort for the program associates to meet communication goals. On the next slide, I will discuss the adoption strategy plan for this change. The adoption strategy plan has 6 steps of implementation. As slightly discussed on the previous slide, first we will sit down with various groups, ranging from the associates to the leadership members, to discuss company needs in order to decide upon necessary software features. After a software is decided upon, we will communicate the change to all groups with a 3-month notice period. Then, demonstration training will be provided to the program associates and chapter advisors first, because they will be closely working with the change. A software expert will not only provide the training, but will also be available to communicate with team members in case of any questions and concerns. Before officially implementing the change, with performance being managed and data being collected, we decided that the software would be downloaded to all company computers and its capabilities could be practiced without being in actual use with the volunteers for approximately 1 week. After the practice week is over, the communication software will be in full use, and employees that will be broken into teams based on volunteer location will be expected to reach out to individual volunteers 3 times a month. This communication can then be monitored, and the data from the communication as well as the volunteer numbers can be graphed by management. After a few months of communication through the software, teams that communicate the most and have steady volunteer numbers will receive incentives, such as a pizza party or a shout out from management. On the next slide, Madison will be discussing our diffusion strategy.
Our roadmap begins 3 months before the official launch. Although we have separated our audiences into sponsors, key stakeholders, innovators and early adopters, early and late majorities, and laggards, communications will ultimately go to all employees so everyone can stay on track. So T-minus 3 months, the sponsors and key stakeholders will begin communicating a coming change with other employees. So we'll give the chance for the other groups to discuss their concerns, communicate their thoughts on improvement, as well as prepare for a coming change. T-minus 1 month is where the software trainings have been scheduled. Employees are kept in the loop and informed of the software, and the advocates or employee trainers are chosen to help head the change effort. The advocates and trainers will be in each group, and these employees will begin training immediately so they are able to answer any questions and help other employees adjust. T-minus 2 weeks is when the training, QA sessions, and resources are released. The trainers are also a great resource during this time period. They will help communicate any issues or major questions up to the key stakeholders and sponsor levels. T-minus 1 week, the software is downloaded on all computers, and IT site visits will also occur. Now it's time for the launch. The software is ready to use. After the launch, the sponsors and key stakeholders will begin their weekly check-ins for the next 6 weeks. These check-ins will decrease in frequency as employees become comfortable with the software. They will go from weekly to monthly to as needed. These check-ins are a great place to bring up concerns or questions. This week, employees should all be using the software. As always, it's the first week, so it is key to ask questions. 3 to 6 months after the launch, adjustments may still be needed. The monthly check-ins at this point are a great source to determine if adjustments are needed and what needs to be changed. At this point, the software should be used to its full extent. The next 7 to 9 months end our roadmap. Progress is monitored for continuous improvement opportunities, and the software is now the status quo. Questions may still come up, especially for new employees, but at this point, we are hoping that the employees know the software well and are fluent in their responsibilities with it. Our sustainment strategy has several components. The first are the employee advocates and trainers. Once again, they are chosen employees who will act as advocates and trainers to help others learn and discuss issues along the change way. They will report up to key stakeholders and sponsors about any issues. We will also continuously be searching for improvement opportunities. We want there to be an open communication about questions and issues so that adjustments can be made. One way to do this is through the employee advocates or the weekly, monthly, and as-needed check-ins with the key stakeholders and sponsors. Incentives are also going to be important. We want the team to feel appreciated in this change, and this can be shown by recognition emails when employees use the software well or increase the usage of their software. We will also create a competition with the ability to earn lunch by breaking the employees into teams, seeing who is using the software the most. The winning team will get a lunch or pizza party. Our next component will be the IT department and software experts. We definitely want to utilize them at all levels for employees who need to ask questions or key stakeholders and sponsors who may want to make an adjustment during the change process. Finally, the managers and team will be tracking the number of contacts with volunteers and software usage from employees. This will show who has grasped the software and who may need a little help or a push in the right direction. So, what are we asking? First of all, for approval for this change. We will need funding for the chosen software, the trainings for the software, and the IT department that will be experts on the software. Time-wise, we are looking at 2 months before launch and 9 months after launch. So the long period of time after the launch, we really want to make sure that the software is working to its full potential for employees, that any adjustments that are needed are complete. And finally, we need your support, not only on the approval, but throughout this change project. We truly believe that having a software like this for employees will help to increase the number of volunteers for Global Brigades. I want to thank you for listening to our presentation. Please let us know if you have any questions.